The girl's name is Tao Tao. In her old life, she was distracted by her phone and accidentally fell into a manure pit. She figured her prime years were over. But when she opened her eyes, she was in a magnificent castle. Standing beside her was a handsome, cold-faced man who radiated danger. The man picked her up as easily as a baby chick, looking her up and down. "You're telling me she's my biological daughter?" he said. A million questions exploded in Tao Tao's head. Oh my God, did I transmigrate? Before she could even begin to process it, a stunningly handsome face loomed closer. "Cry again, and I'll throw you out." The threat nearly made Tao Tao wet her diaper. Just then, a ragged-looking, middle-aged man standing nearby took his chance. He tremblingly pulled out a memento from the girl's mother. "Mr. Long, she is without a doubt your biological daughter." Hearing the name Long, the already stunned Tao Tao was floored. She was sure of it now. She'd transmigrated into a book, one where every single character was a villain. The head of this villainous family, Long Chen-li, was a complete maniac. Not only did he constantly go after the novel's hero, but his sons were all just as messed up, always trying to steal the heroine from him. And to top it all off, Tao Tao had been kidnapped by a human trafficker and sold to this top-tier villain, Long Chen-li. Faced with Long Chen-li's repeated questioning, the trafficker's story fell apart, his eyes darting around nervously. Seeing things were going south, he made a break for it. Long Chen-li's eyes narrowed, and a man in black behind him raised a gun. With a loud bang, the trafficker hit the ground, his head bursting like a watermelon. Tao Tao had never seen such a bloody scene before. Her little face went pale, and her heart felt like it was about to leap out of her throat. Before she could recover, Long Chen-li's icy gaze shot toward her. "Get out!" With that, he let go, and poor Tao Tao was dropped so hard she nearly met her maker. She wanted to cry but had no tears. She wanted to get out and go back to her own world, but all the men in black had guns. She was terrified she'd be shot in the head the second she stepped out the door. To save her own skin, she decided to take a gamble. Tao Tao reached out and tugged on Long Chen-li's pant leg, batting her big eyes. "Daddy, don't make me go! Tao Tao doesn't want to leave you! Tao Tao doesn't want to be an orphan!" But faced with this adorable, pitiful little girl, Long Chen-li remained unmoved. "Get lost, you little liar!" Seeing this, Tao Tao summoned all her strength, leaped up and clung to Long Chen-li's neck for dear life. "No, Daddy," she wailed, snot and tears everywhere as she pleaded her case. "Tao Tao is also along. What if that man was telling the truth? Shouldn't you at least check, Daddy?" Long Chen-li's expression turned cold, but he was secretly intrigued. After all, no one had ever dared to bargain with him before. He agreed to let her stay, but if he found out she was a fraud, a much more terrible fate awaited her. He plucked a strand of her hair, and then tossed her to the butler. Late that night, as Tao Tao lay in bed, she felt something wasn't right. She clearly remembered the novel never mentioned Long Chen-li having a daughter. That meant she was most likely not his kid. With that thought, she scrambled out of bed, determined to make a run for it. She tiptoed out of her room on her short little legs, only to find the castle was a giant maze. No matter which way she went, she couldn't find an exit. Just as she was panting and on the verge of despair, she spotted a family photo of the villains on the wall. In that instant, she felt a shot of adrenaline and renewed her search. Her efforts finally paid off. She found an exit, and there were no guards. Tao Tao was overjoyed, thinking she was about to be free. Just then, a hand shot out, grabbed her, and yanked her to the ground. She face-planted hard. "Who are you?" a cocky voice demanded from above. It was a boy with white hair looking down on her. Faced with his question, Tao Tao's clever brain went blank. "Come on, mouth, think of an excuse!" Just when she thought she was done for, the butler appeared from behind and scooped her up. Tao Tao was moved to tears. "Mister, you're my savior." But Long Chen-yi wouldn't let it go. He grabbed the butler, demanding to know who she was. The butler calmly explained, "Someone brought this child here, saying she's the master's youngest daughter. We're currently waiting on the results of a paternity test." With that, he carried Tao Tao away. Once the words sank in, Long Chen-yi looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He refused to believe she was his father's daughter. Back in her room, Tao Tao pretended to be asleep. The moment she heard the door close, her eyes snapped open. She shot out of bed and sprinted out the door. But the castle was like a maze. She ran for what felt like forever without even seeing the main gate, and then tripped over a small rock, face-planting again. Staring at the dark, imposing castle, she finally realized it was impossible to escape. "Ugh, why is my life so miserable?" she sobbed. "Before I transmigrated, I was an overworked orphan. And now I'm still stuck in this wretched fate." After calming down, she figured if she was going to die anyway, she might as well try to win over her villain dad first. She could save up some cash and then find the right time to get out of this hellhole. The next morning, Tao Tao snuck into the kitchen. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, after all. The only problem was the stove was way too high for her tiny body. But that wasn't going to stop a smart girl like her. She dragged over a few small stools, stood on top, and saw that the kitchen was fully stocked with every ingredient imaginable. Perfect, Tao Tao decided to make a sandwich. She sliced ham and fried an egg, and after a series of smooth moves, a beautiful sandwich was born. "What are you doing?" a deep voice suddenly asked from behind her. Tao Tao turned to see Long Chen Li and Long Chen Yi standing in the doorway. She batted her big eyes and invited them to have breakfast. Long Chen Li walked over expressionlessly, looked at the sandwich, and asked, "You made this?" Tao Tao nodded vigorously, her eyes full of hope. Her brother Long Chen Yi, however, looked disgusted. "Tush, it's just a sandwich. Who hasn't had one before?" To his surprise, Long Chen Li not only started eating it, but even praised it. Not bad. Hearing that, Tao Tao was so happy she could have jumped for joy. She'd added a lot of her secret ingredients to win over her maniac dad. But Long Chen Yi felt his position in the family was being threatened. He was furious. How dare this girl get praise from dad? No way am I letting her steal my dad away. Back at the breakfast table, Long Chen Yi stared at the exquisite sandwich, gulping but refusing to take a bite, wrestling with his own pride. Tao Tao, seeing this, gently urged him to try it, but the tsundere Yi just grumbled and refused. His villain dad's warning glare finally did the trick, though it came a bit late. Yi had no choice but to begrudgingly take a bite. The moment it hit his tongue, he thought he'd died and gone to heaven. "This is amazing!" he screamed internally. Tao Tao was thrilled, thinking she had successfully won over Long Chen Yi. But in the next second, he acted like he'd lost his mind, slamming his fork down and yelling, "This is disgusting!" The villain dad had lost his patience. "Who taught you to throw things?" he snapped. The shout was so loud it almost made Yi wet his diaper. Tao Tao sighed to herself. No wonder everyone in this family turns into a villain. She quickly tried to smooth things over. "Brother, what do you like to eat? Tao Tao can make it for you next time." But her villain dad saw right through her. "You're just trying to suck up to us so you can stay here, aren't you?" Tao Tao frantically waved her hands. "No, I just genuinely like to cook." But he threw cold water on her plan. "The test results will be out soon. If you lied to me, you know the consequences." Tao Tao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If it weren't for the men in black at the door, she would have been long gone. Watching his dad and Tao Tao talking and laughing, Long Chen Yi was so jealous he could grind his teeth to dust. Why does she get all of Dad's attention? In a fit of pique, he invited his dad to his school's sports day to watch him compete. But his dad didn't even lift an eyelid and flatly refused. An idea suddenly sparked in Tao Tao's mind. "If I can get villain dad to take me to the school, it'll be crowded. It's the perfect chance to escape." She carefully tugged on his sleeve and cooed, "Daddy, Tao Tao wants to go to brother's sports day. Can you take me, please?" "What do you want to go for?" he asked, annoyed. Tao Tao blinked her big, innocent eyes and said pitifully, "Tao Tao has never been to a sports day before, and I want to go cheer for brother." Hearing that someone wanted to cheer for him, Long Chen Yi was secretly thrilled, but he kept up his tough guy act. "I don't need you to cheer for me." To everyone's surprise, the villain dad actually agreed. Tao Tao was so happy she nearly jumped to the ceiling. "Thank you, Daddy." Long Chen Yi was ecstatic too, but the thought that this was all thanks to the little girl in front of him made him furious. He vowed to win back his pride at the competition the next day. When the day of the event arrived, Tao Tao stepped into the school, giddy with excitement. Just as she was breathing in the air of freedom, a large hand reached out from behind and lifted her up. The villain dad was holding her in his arms. "You stay right here with me," he instructed. "Don't get lost." Tao Tao managed a polite but awkward smile. "But I want to get lost," she thought. Long Chen Yi stood nearby, glaring at her, a fire burning in his heart. "Today, I'm going to shine and win back Dad's love." Later, Long Chen Yi was on the field, trying his best to look cool. But if you looked closely, you could see the kid was struggling to stick the number tag on his own back. He glanced wistfully at the other kids, whose dads were patiently helping them. Then he looked at his own father, who was maintaining his usual damnably elegant posture, completely ignoring his son's predicament. Tao Tao saw this and had a flash of inspiration. "Third brother," she called out in her sweet, high-pitched voice. "Come here. Tao Tao will help you with your tag." Long Chen Yi had no choice but to reluctantly hand her the number tag. Tao Tao, using her short arms and legs to her advantage, pretended she couldn't reach. Then, without hesitation, she waved her little hands at Long Chen Li. "Daddy, can you come help brother?" Nervous but hopeful, Long Chen Yi cautiously walked over to his father. "Dad, can you help me with my number tag?" Long Chen Li's expression was calm. "Turn around," was all he said, his voice cold. Yi was so excited his hands were trembling. At the same time, Tao Tao was ecstatic. She'd finally found her chance to escape. Just as she was about to bolt, a deep voice came from behind her. "Where do you think you're going?" Tao Tao froze, a shiver running down her spine. She immediately went into performance mode, starting to do jumping jacks. "Ha ha ha ha, I'm just warming up," she said a little too loud. "Gotta cheer for brother later." A playful smirk touched Long Chen Li's lips. "I thought you were about to run off." Tao Tao fluttered her big, watery eyes, looking completely innocent. "Why would I run? Tao Tao's a little thirsty. Can you give me some money to buy a drink?" Inside, her mind was racing. This money was the startup fund for her escape plan. Long Chen Li looked at her, finding the situation more and more amusing. "What do you want to drink?" he asked with great interest. Tao Tao silently gave him the middle finger in her mind. What's with all the questions? This guy has no sense of personal space. But on the outside, she didn't dare show it. She immediately put on a bright smile. "Tao Tao wants a sweet strawberry cheese mochi milk." Long Chen Li snapped his fingers, and in an instant, the butler appeared holding a strawberry cheese mochi milk. Tao Tao's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Where did the butler even come from? She gave an awkward laugh. On second thought, that's too rich. Maybe something sour, like a kumquat passion fruit lemon tea." Before she could finish, a giant cup of kumquat passion fruit lemon tea was placed in front of her. Tao Tao was completely dumbfounded. But she wasn't ready to give up. She took a deep breath and, like a machine gun, rattled off the names of over 800 different drinks. Reality once again dealt her a heavy blow. The butler brought out every single drink she had mentioned. Long Chen Li raised an eyebrow smugly. "So, is that enough to drink?" Tao Tao's mouth twitched. "Hey, hey, hey. Actually, Tao Tao isn't that thirsty. But maybe if there were some dessert?" Before she could finish her sentence, a cart piled high with delicious-looking cakes was wheeled out. Tao Tao's brain was about to short-circuit. She racked her brain and finally managed to squeeze out, "Actually, fruit is Tao Tao's real favorite." Faster than you could say when, the butler presented her with an entire truckload of fresh fruit. Tao Tao's mind went completely blank. She was filled with despair. Escaping was way too hard. Just then, the stadium's loudspeaker crackled to life, announcing the start of the first half of the competition. Long Chen Li scooped Tao Tao up into his arms. "Had enough fun?" he said, his voice both gentle and commanding. "Time to watch the games." This scene happened to be witnessed by Long Chen Yi, and his jealousy instantly flared. His heart soured as he schemed to win back his father's affection during the competition. The competition began. To win his father's favor, Long Chen Yi was like a man possessed, winning gold in archery, javelin, and high jump. Holding his medals, he was like an excited puppy waiting for a treat, hoping for a few words of praise. Long Chen Li was generous enough to give him an. Just that one sound was enough to make Yi feel like he was on top of the world. But in the next second, his dad poured a bucket of cold water on him. "You're a child of the Long family. Winning 3 championships is what's expected of you." The words hit Yi like a ton of bricks, and the happy bubble around him burst. Tao Tao felt a pang of sympathy for her brother and couldn't help but think her dad was a cold, heartless monster. It only made her want to escape this place even more. Her little brain started spinning again, and she came up with a new plan. Use a bathroom break as an excuse to slip away. But Long Chen Li was being so considerate, he offered to take her himself. Tao Tao wrinkled her nose and politely declined. "It's stinky. Tao Tao can go by herself." To Long Chen Yi, her look of disgust just looked like she was being a cute, whiny baby. He was so jealous he was about to lose his mind. He wished she would just disappear from the face of the earth. Long Chen Li led Tao Tao to the school building. Just then, a little old man came scurrying over, saying the principal wanted to see him for a school board meeting. Tao Tao was overjoyed. This was the perfect opportunity to escape. But then Long Chen Li flatly refused the invitation. Tao Tao panicked. She quickly reached up and covered his mouth. "Daddy, you should go," she said, laying on the praise. "A man who's focused on his work is the most handsome." Long Chen Yi chimed in, tugging on his dad's sleeve. "Dad, I'll take care of my sister. You can go, don't worry." Tao Tao was so grateful she almost bowed down to him. She quickly latched onto Yi's arm. "Brother, hold me," she chirped. "Don't worry, Dad, I like brother the most, and I like my sister the most." Seeing them getting along so well, Long Chen Li felt reassured and turned to leave. But the moment he was gone, Long Chen Yi roughly dropped Tao Tao on the ground. "Oof," Tao Tao whimpered, putting on a pitiful face as she looked up at him. Long Chen Yi grabbed her wrist, a wicked smile spreading across his face. "Come on, brother will take you to find the bathroom." Tao Tao's heart sank. She knew this little villain was up to no good, but it actually worked in her favor. A moment later, Yi led her to a secluded spot. "You needed to go potty, right? The bathroom's in there." He shoved her inside and slammed the door shut with a loud bang. Tao Tao sighed. Kids are so naive. Did he really think locking the door would trap me? He seemed to have forgotten about the window. She gleefully thought about her impending freedom, but when she got to the window, she saw it was rusted shut. It wouldn't budge. Tao Tao wanted to cry. Another failed escape. Trapped in the small, dark room by that little brat Long Chen Yi, a sinister, damp air washed over Tao Tao. Fear wrapped around her tightly, and with it came a flood of painful, buried memories. The helplessness in the dark, the desperation of her cries for help going unanswered, they felt like sharp knives stabbing at her heart. Tears streamed down her face. As if on cue, a pair of golden eyes suddenly lit up in the darkness, staring straight at her. Tao Tao was so scared she almost wet her pants. Meanwhile, Long Chen Li had finished his meeting and was heading to the sports field to present the awards. Suddenly, Long Chen Yi came running over frantically. Dad, bad news, sister, she ran away! Long Chen Li calmly glanced at his son. Really? Yi quickly and carefully handed him a forged farewell note. It read, I don't like you, Daddy. I'm leaving. Don't miss me. Long Chen Li looked at the note and let out a faint, almost unnoticeable smile. Yi thought his plan was foolproof. But just as he was feeling smug, his father's deep voice cut in. There's a typo in this letter. Hearing that, Yi blurted out, How could there be? I checked the dictionary. The moment the words left his mouth, he knew he was toast. Where is she? Long Chen Li's gaze was like a laser, pinning his son down. If you're lying, you know the consequences. Back in the dark room, Tao Tao was frantically looking for something to use as a weapon. A huge rat suddenly lunged at her. She let out a terrified scream, grabbed a nearby broom, and started swinging it wildly. The girl and the rat battled for what felt like 300 rounds in the tiny space. Just then, with a creak, the door slowly opened. Tao Tao whipped her head around to see Long Chen Li walking in, his face grim. Her eyes instantly reddened, and tears of relief flooded out. But the rat chose that moment to let out an ill-timed squeak, sending another wave of panic through her. Long Chen Li shot the rat a death stare. The rat froze for a second, then scurried away in terror. Tao Tao couldn't believe it. Her villain dad could even scare off rats. Before she could process it, he beckoned to her with his finger. Come here. Without a moment's hesitation, Tao Tao flew over and hugged his leg tightly. Wah, Daddy, you finally came. Seeing her sobbing uncontrollably, Long Chen Li felt a strange, unfamiliar pang of protectiveness. He slowly knelt and gently stroked her little head. It's okay, don't cry, he soothed. Tao Tao just hugged him tighter, burying her face in his shoulder and continuing to cry. Awkwardly, Long Chen Li began to pat her back. Seeing this, Long Chen Yi didn't dare cause any more trouble. He cautiously approached his father to apologize. Long Chen Li gave him a cold glance. You should be apologizing to her. Yi had no choice but to turn to Tao Tao and reluctantly mumble, I'm sorry. Long Chen Li looked at Tao Tao with a doting expression. You have the right not to forgive him, he said seriously. He deserves to be punished. With her villain dad backing her up, Tao Tao's spine straightened, and she suddenly felt bold. Tao Tao strutted toward Long Chen Yi with the confidence of a queen. Yi's heart clenched, wondering what she was going to do. But she just took his hand and said in her sweet little voice, Brother didn't mean to do it, right? Yi was stunned. Before he could react, Tao Tao blinked her big eyes again. Tao Tao forgives you, brother. A wave of heat rushed to Yi's face. In that single moment, all his pent-up resentment melted away. Seeing her chance, Tao Tao went in for the kill and gave him a hug. Third brother is the best. Tao Tao likes third brother. The little tsundere was completely won over. Nearby, Long Chen Li watched it all unfold with a sly smile. The 100-meter dash final was about to start. Tao Tao was in the stands, screaming her little lungs out for Long Chen Yi. Her tiny, high-pitched voice stood out in the noisy crowd. Yi looked embarrassed, but inside he was beaming. With the sharp crack of the starting gun, the race began. Long Chen Yi shot off the line, taking an early lead. Tao Tao's cheers grew even louder, but then disaster struck. The kid in the lane next to him intentionally tripped him, and he went sprawling. Tao Tao and Long Chen Li watched in shock. Yi was in so much pain he could barely get up. He could only watch as the other runners passed him one by one. But thinking of his dad and sister, he gritted his teeth, stood up and hobbled toward the finish line on his injured leg. Unfortunately, he had fallen too far behind and came in last. As he was feeling down, a boy with a pockmarked face ran up to him, mocking, Last place? Your dad definitely doesn't like you now. Hearing this, Tao Tao flew into a rage. She ran over and stood in front of Yi. My brother got hurt and still finished the race. He's number one in my heart. You're the one who cheated. You're the real loser and don't deserve to be first. The pockmarked kid, furious and embarrassed, raised his hand to hit her. In that critical moment, Long Chen Yi shot out his hand and grabbed the kid's wrist, pulling Tao Tao behind him protectively. His eyes were fierce. You dare try to hurt my sister? The kid was so intimidated by his sudden intensity that he just ran away. Long Chen-li rushed over to check on Yi's injuries. Yi was overwhelmed with guilt, feeling like he'd let everyone down. Just then, his father gently patted his head. You did great, he said softly. I saw everything. Tao Tao nodded vigorously beside him. Brother, you were amazing! Hearing this, Long Chen-yi couldn't hold it in any longer. Tears of frustration and relief streamed down his face as he threw himself into his father's arms and sobbed. A Rolls-Royce pulled up to the Long family villa. The moment the butler opened the car door, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. For the first time ever, Long Chen-li was wearing the smile of a doting father, with 2 sleeping children curled up against him. When the butler tried to take the kids, the notoriously cold-hearted master just held them tighter, carrying one and hoisting the other over his shoulder as he walked into the villa. The sight left the servant's jaws on the floor again. The butler even suspected he'd been possessed. After putting the kids to bed, Long Chen-li stared at their 2 cherubic faces and murmured, "They're much cuter when they're asleep." Long Chen-yi was shaking with suppressed laughter, while Tao Tao fumed internally. So I'm not cute when I'm awake? After carefully tucking them in, Long Chen-li wore a rare, wistful expression. He had been so busy with work that he had neglected his children. He never knew what it felt like to be needed by them. He accidentally said his thoughts out loud. He took a bad fall today. I should take him to practice wrestling sometime, then he'll have more experience next time he falls. Long Chen-yi secretly blushed. Dad wants to take me out to play? This is awesome. But Tao Tao wanted to roll her eyes. You clueless man, that's not why he was hurting. Just then, the butler peeked in to remind him about a meeting. Long Chen-li immediately put a finger to his lips, shushing him, and gently closed the door as if guarding a precious treasure. Once the footsteps faded, Tao Tao shot up, did a neat flip, and landed on the floor. She glanced back suspiciously at Long Chen-yi. Is he really asleep? The pretending to be asleep Yi didn't dare breathe. He heard Tao Tao chuckle softly. You must be exhausted. It feels better to cry it all out, doesn't it? A soft hand stroked his head. Third brother was super cool today. The praise made Yi's heart pound. The tips of his ears hidden under the blanket turned bright red. The next morning, Tao Tao was busy in the kitchen, wearing a little apron, when she felt a burning gaze on her back. She reflexively grabbed an onion and threw it. Long Chen-yi caught it with lightning speed, but then, for some reason, took a huge bite. The poor kid's eyes started watering from the spice, but he stubbornly insisted, I love this flavor. Right, Tao Tao said, trying not to laugh. So what does third brother want to eat? Sandwich, he blurted out. The moment he said it, both of them froze. After all, just yesterday, a certain someone had sworn he hated sandwiches. Tao Tao was a little creeped out. This king of denial was clearly a huge fan of her sandwiches. Watching him wolf it down, she secretly celebrated, one step closer to winning over the whole villain family. The bacon today was especially delicious. The little foodie was munching away happily. Long Chen-yi saw this and guessed she liked bacon. Even though he was practically drooling over the bacon on his own plate, he decided to give it all to her, even lying that he hated bacon and she could have it from now on. Tao Tao was confused. What's this kid up to now? But then she saw his face was a mess. Brother, you've got egg on your face, she said helpfully. He thought she wanted his scrambled eggs. So without a second thought, he dumped them all onto her plate. Today's eggs are too tough, he said dismissively. You can have them. Though she found his behavior odd, Tao Tao didn't think much of it. She chugged her glass of milk and exclaimed, So fresh, so good. Seeing this, Long Chen-yi grandly declared, There's not enough milk today. Get 3 more glasses. A maid quickly brought Tao Tao 3 large glasses of milk. It was only then that she realized what he was doing. He was trying to be nice, just in his own stubborn way. Victory is in sight, she cheered to herself. Seeing Tao Tao so happy, he secretly told the maid to prepare 3 glasses of milk for her every day from now on. He didn't realize that too much milk can be overwhelming. After 4 glasses, Tao Tao was starting to feel sick. Just then, Long Chen-li entered with heavy steps, his black suit radiating a cold aura. He stared at the sandwich on his plate, his voice like cracking ice. You made this again? Tao Tao nodded like a little chick pecking at grain. If Daddy likes it, I'll make it. But Long Chen-li just gave her a cold look. Don't make it again. The words hit Tao Tao like a punch to the gut. He's so scary. I have to find a way to get out of here. Just as Long Chen-li took a bite of his sandwich, the butler rushed in holding a large envelope. The young Mrs. DNA test results are in. The announcement was like a clap of thunder. Tao Tao's heart sank. It's over. The good days are done for. Oh, crap. Long Chen-li hadn't expected the results to come back so quickly. He glanced up at Tao Tao. Daddy, hurry up and open it, she said, her smile frozen and sweat beading on her forehead. Somebody please save me. Long Chen-yi, seeing this, worried she was overheating and quickly handed her a handkerchief. Haha, it is a little hot, she said, taking it with a dry laugh. Long Chen-li let out a soft sigh and slowly pulled the report from the envelope. He had let Tao Tao stay because the way she cried reminded him so much of that woman. But he had been sure she couldn't be his daughter. He never expected to be proven so wrong, so fast. The words confirmed biological relation were printed in bold. Tao Tao was really his daughter. Long Chen-li stared at her menacingly. The dread in Tao Tao's heart finally settled into a dead certainty. He suddenly shot to his feet and yelled at her, "Where is that woman?" Tao Tao was completely baffled. That woman? Who? Long Chen-li slammed the report on the table. Your biological mother, where is she? When Tao Tao saw the report, her eyes went wide. She really was the villain dad's daughter. I don't know, she stammered, her eyes welling up with tears that trembled on her lashes. Seeing her about to cry, Long Chen-li felt a pang of regret. The butler promptly bowed. Master, the young miss was kidnapped and suffered a shock. She has amnesia. The words seemed to thaw the icy atmosphere a bit. He then ordered the butler to investigate the matter thoroughly. Late that night in his study, Long Chen-li stared at a faded photograph. The woman in the picture had a smile brighter than a spring day, but thinking about how she had betrayed him, left without a word, and secretly had his child, his anger boiled over. The next morning, Tao Tao woke up with dark circles under her eyes, startled from a nightmare. The thought that the villain dad was her real dad made her fear for her life. After all, the villain family was destined for a tragic end, and now she was officially one of them. She was going to end up as collateral damage. As she was thinking, the butler's voice called out. He wheeled in a rack full of frilly dresses. Tao Tao's eyes lit up. These little dresses are so pretty. The master specifically picked these out for you, young miss. Tao Tao chose a pink princess dress. Villain dad has pretty good taste, she thought. Just then, Long Chen-yi pushed open the door to call her for breakfast. Tao Tao wanted to braid her hair first, but her short little arms couldn't reach. Long Chen-yi, unable to watch any longer, stepped forward and offered to help. Third brother, do you even know how? She asked. He was so embarrassed he could have dug a hole in the floor with his toes. The little tsundere, Long Chen-yi, was full of confidence. It's just braiding hair, how hard can it be? But Tao Tao had a bad feeling. Tony Long got to work. He looked so serious you'd think he had 30 years of experience. But his hands fumbled and he had no idea where to start. Poor Tao Tao's hair couldn't take the abuse and started to fall out. She was about to lose her mind, but Yi wouldn't give up. After a flurry of activity, he stepped back to admire his work. The result was something else. Tao Tao stared at her reflection in disbelief. Third brother, are these supposed to be tree branches? Just then, Long Chen-li walked in and saw the scene. What are you doing? Daddy, we're braiding my hair, Tao Tao said with a pout. Long Chen-li just let out a soft, oh, a clear look of disdain in his eyes. I'll do it. The familiar tone sent a shiver down Tao Tao's spine. Sure enough, like father, like son. Staring at the new strands of hair that had abandoned her scalp, Tao Tao wanted to cry. Goodbye, Catherine, George, Alpha, Harry, Nina. Meanwhile, Long Chen-li was extremely pleased with his design. Tao Tao looked at herself in the mirror, completely dead inside. Dad, what are you so proud of? The tree branches were better than this. To make matters worse, the father and son started showering each other with compliments on their masterpiece. Tao Tao got so mad she kicked them both out of the room. A few moments later, she appeared at the dining table with her hair in 2 cute, soft pigtails that she'd done herself. When she saw the mountain of bacon, her eyes lit up. She shouted her thanks to her third brother. Yi's ears instantly turned red. I didn't say it was from me, he mumbled. I know, Tao Tao said, teasing him. It was from third brother. She dug into her food, thinking that maybe living in this villain house wasn't so bad after all. Suddenly, a cold voice broke the peace. Dad, I'm home. A red-haired teenager appeared. It was the villain dad's second son, Long Chung-feng, a complete and utter psycho. Chung-feng approached Tao Tao with a smile. And who is this little sister? Long Chen-yi happily answered, Bro, she really is our sister. Long Chen-li added coldly, Long Chen-tao, my daughter, your sister. From now on, you will get along with her, understand? A slight smile played on Chung-feng's lips. A sister? I just love sisters. Hearing this, a cold sweat broke out on Tao Tao's back. She watched as Chung-feng offered her a piece of candy. Want some candy, sister? Tao Tao's heart pounded. She knew Chung-feng was a master of poisons who loved to spike food. When she didn't react, he looked a little disappointed. What, doesn't my sister like candy? With a trembling hand, Tao Tao took the candy and stuffed it in her pocket. I'll eat it later. Faster than you could blink, Her breakfast had been sprinkled with Chung Feng's special pepper. Go on, try it, he said, staring at her with a creepy smile. It's delicious. Cao Cao panicked. Do I really have to eat this? Cao Cao stared at the heavily seasoned bacon, unable to bring herself to eat it. If you don't want to eat it, then don't, Long Chen Li's voice cut in. To Cao Cao, it was the most beautiful sound in the world. He then warned Chung Feng in a cold voice, stop messing with those strange things of yours. Long Chen Yi chimed in. Second brother, I got diarrhea after eating your stuff. Sister is still so little, just leave her alone. Chung Feng was taken aback. He never expected his father and brother to both defend this new sister. He suddenly grinned, speared a piece of bacon, and popped it into his mouth. The bacon really is delicious. Cao Cao was floored. Damn, this guy is hardcore. Looks like no one likes my cooking, Chung Feng said, then suddenly leaned in close. His cold fingers lifted Cao Cao's chin. But that's okay. Big brother will buy you something tasty later. The words sent shivers down Cao Cao's spine, but she had to force a smile. Thanks, second brother. After breakfast, Chung Feng went back to his lab to mess with his strange concoctions. He overheard some maids gossiping outside. The master and the third young master have already given the young miss 3 gifts this week. The masters really dote on her. Who wouldn't like the young miss? She's so cute and well-behaved, and she's so sweet and kind to us servants too. Right? And I think even the third young master has gotten cuter since she arrived. A sharp glare cut them off. Chung Feng slowly turned around. You're disturbing my experiment. Or perhaps you'd like to join? The maids were so scared they almost wet their diapers. Our apologies, second young master. We'll leave right now. They scrambled away. A terrible idea then formed in Chung Feng's mind. Since everyone likes the little miss so much, maybe they'd like her even more if I turned her body into a doll. The next morning, Cao Cao was deep in thought. In the novel, the third brother ended up in jail because of the heroin, and the second brother's fate was even worse. He became obsessed with the heroine, and when he couldn't have her, he went completely dark, trying to poison the hero. He ended up getting killed instead. Cao Cao never knew that he had started experimenting with his strange concoctions at such a young age. But for some reason, she didn't want either of her brothers to meet such tragic ends. She wanted to prevent their downfall, but had no idea how. Suddenly, there was a knock on her door. She ran to open it, full of anticipation, but the moment the door swung open, she regretted it. Long Chung Feng was standing there with a large fruit basket, a wide smile on his face. Morning, sister. I brought you a gift. May I come in? Cao Cao screamed internally, do I look like I dare to eat that? She forced a smile that looked more like a pained grimace. Welcome, welcome. As soon as Chung Feng stepped inside, she realized her mistake. I'm screwed. How am I supposed to change their fates when I can't even save myself? The basket was filled with colorful little pastries that looked like they were distant relatives of poisonous mushrooms. Just looking at them made her stomach churn. Go on, pick a flavor and try it, Chung Feng said, feigning disappointment, but a sly glint flashed in his eyes. Though he said he wouldn't force her, his face clearly read, if you don't eat, I'm not leaving. Cao Cao glanced at the dark culinary creations, and was more certain than ever that she couldn't eat them. But she was out of ideas. After a moment, she looked down at her slightly pudgy belly and had a plan. Tummy, I'm counting on you. She looked up at Chung Feng pitifully. Brother, I love these pastries, but I just finished breakfast and I'm too full. She then picked up the small bamboo basket they came in. Second brother, can I have this basket? A small smile played on Chung Feng's lips. Of course. Cao Cao was secretly relieved, thinking she'd dodged a bullet. But then, without a moment's hesitation, Chung Feng grabbed a pastry and started eating it. Cao Cao's eyes went wide. She was completely stunned. This guy is insane. He actually ate it. Chung Feng smirked. Good choice, sister. He leaned in closer to her. It seems you like the smell of bamboo. Cao Cao was confused. She instinctively sniffed the basket in her hands. A faint, pleasant scent of bamboo drifted into her nose. Wow, it smells so good. I'll treasure this gift from second brother forever. Seeing her reaction, Chung Feng knew his plan had worked. He couldn't hold back a loud, unrestrained laugh. 3, 2, Cao Cao was completely bewildered, having no idea what he was counting down to. With a snap of his fingers, a sharp pain shot through her stomach. She writhed on the floor in agony. My stomach hurts, she cried. Second brother, give me the antidote. There is no antidote, he said coldly. Because of you, my family has changed. This is the price. With that, he turned and left her there. Cao Cao curled into a ball, heartbroken. She had just started to feel like she belonged, that things were getting better. Just yesterday, she was trying to figure out how to save him from his tragic future, and this heartless monster had done something so cruel. Fueled by pain and betrayal, she struggled to her feet, grabbed the small bamboo basket, and lunged at him. Her small body was like an enraged animal as she locked her arms around his neck. You little brat, you dare to poison me? Then I'll give you a taste of your own medicine. Cao Cao decided to return the favor, shoving the bamboo basket right under his nose. Here, second brother, you take a whiff of this nice smell too. Less than a second later, both of their stomachs started rumbling in unison. I need the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom. Let me go first. The two of them ended up in a life-or-death race for the villa's only bathroom. By a stroke of bad luck, their frantic chase was witnessed by Long Chen Yi. Wow, second brother and sister are getting along so well, he thought. Are they having a race? Seeing Yi was just a step away from the bathroom, Cao Cao had an idea. She yelled Chen Yi's name, and like a little rocket, he shot over and tripped up Cheng Feng. Cao Cao zipped into the bathroom and slammed the door. Cheng Feng was furious. He could only express his rage with a very loud, very unfortunate fart. After a long time, both of them emerged, completely drained and in no condition to fight anymore. Cheng Feng, having recovered slightly, couldn't help but tease her. Nice move, sister. Right back at you, she shot back with a disgusted look. But he seemed intrigued. Let's play something even more fun next time. Hearing that, Cao Cao jumped up from the couch. Bring it on, second brother. I'm not giving up. Just then, Long Chen Li suddenly appeared and scooped her up. What are you two talking about? Dad, brother, Cao Cao started, then trailed off. Cheng Feng panicked. She instantly realized that the little psycho was actually pretty easy to handle. But she didn't expose him. She just smiled and said, Brother gave me a gift, and I love it. Cheng Feng was stunned, wondering what she was playing at. Long Chen Li just pinched her cheek affectionately, then placed her in Cheng Feng's arms. Take good care of your sister, he instructed. The stunned Cheng Feng was stunned all over again. After their dad left, he finally processed it. She didn't tell on me. She must have another plan. Brother, Cao Cao began, I'm a very forgiving person. She was worried that telling on him would just push him further down his dark path. Even though she didn't snitch, the tension between them was still thick. They just stood there glaring at each other. But to Long Chen Yi, it looked completely different. Are you guys playing a staring contest? I want to play too. And so began the great staring competition, which only ended when all three of them had tears streaming from their eyes. The naive Yi declared it was super fun and begged them to include him next time. Cao Cao immediately agreed. She was growing to like her goofy third brother. As long as he wasn't evil, he was a good brother, unlike Cheng Feng, who was still threatening her. I wonder if my sister will get another chance, he'd said. This guy might be a lost cause, she thought, and decided to ignore him. Brothers, I'm going to go play by myself now. Bye. She strutted off. Cheng Feng watched her small but defiant figure walk away. This is interesting, he thought. Everyone else avoids me, but this little pipsqueak dares to go head-to-head with me. Early in the morning, Cao Cao woke up from a nightmare. Don't come near me, she whimpered, her face full of fear. Young miss, what's wrong? Her maid Kelly asked, rushing to her side. Ever since Cheng Feng had returned, Cao Cao had been plagued by nightmares. Her once rosy cheeks were now pale and drawn. Thankfully, her villain dad had assigned Kelly to look after her, which had soothed her frayed nerves a little. Kelly helped her pick out a pretty dress to cheer her up. A little while later, she went to the dining room. Long Chen Yi and Thuzy called her over to sit, and Long Chen Li dotingly tied a napkin around her neck. From the side, Long Cheng Feng just let out a disdainful tsk. After breakfast, as Cheng Feng was about to leave for his tutoring session, Long Chen Li suddenly spoke up. Take your sister with you. Cao Cao was stunned. Cheng Feng, however, gave her a wicked grin. Okay, Dad. Dad? Cao Cao said cautiously. Actually, Before she could finish, Long Chen Yi, like a kid fighting for attention, jumped in. I like playing with sister, too. I like tutoring, too. Long Chen Li shot him a sideways glance. I thought you hated tutoring. Yi felt a chill run down his spine. I suddenly started liking it today, he stammered. Without any regard for her wishes, the two brothers grabbed her and dragged her out the door. Cao Cao felt like she could just die. A short while later, the three siblings arrived at their tutoring class. Good morning, Mr. Vincent, the two brothers said, their voices trembling. A stern-faced man replied coldly, 1 minute late. You're not taking your studies seriously. Look at Yan. He's younger than you and a better student. He arrived an hour early. The Yan he was talking about was Long Chen Li's nephew, Long Chen Yan. Cao Cao instantly remembered this tutor, Vincent. He was one of the key catalysts for the three Long brothers' descent into darkness. Vincent looked at Cao Cao with disdain. So you're the Long family's adopted daughter. What can a little pipsqueak like you possibly learn? To her surprise, the usually timid Long Chen Yi stood up for her. Teacher, she's my real sister! Cao Cao was so moved she almost cried. But Vincent just yelled, Sit down, stop wasting time. During the lesson, while Vincent was teaching, Tao Tao quietly leaned over to Yi and whispered her thanks. The compliment made him puff up with pride. Chung Feng rolled his eyes. My naive, simple-minded brother is being completely fooled by this manipulative little sister. Just then, a thick book slammed down on his desk. Vincent's stern face loomed over him. My classroom does not welcome idiots. Look at Yan. He got first place again on the midterm exams. And you two, Long Chen Yi, second to last. Yai was speechless, his face bright red. Chung Feng couldn't help but chuckle. Vincent's deadly glare shot to him. And you're laughing? You spend all day messing with your creepy, ghoulish things instead of focusing on your studies. I have no idea how the Long family raised a weirdo like you. Chung Feng looked defiant, while Yi looked mortified. Watching her two brothers, Tao Tao couldn't help but worry. Are their darkness progress bars about to fill up again? Tao Tao scrambled onto the desk like a mother hen protecting her chicks, shielding her two brothers behind her. Teacher, you're not allowed to say bad things about my brothers? The old fossil Vincent was stunned. He ordered her to get down, but she ignored him. My third brother is amazing at sports, she declared, and my second brother is super creative with his desserts. The tsundere Yi pretended not to care, but inside he was bursting with pride. The psycho Chung Feng was also a little touched. It was clear Tao Tao had them both wrapped around her little finger. You're a teacher, she continued, her voice fierce as she pointed at him. How can you teach anyone if you're always judging your students? The old man was furious. You dare to criticize your teacher? This is rebellion! So teachers can't be criticized when they're wrong? She shot back. I think you're just jealous that I have such great brothers. He scoffed. If your brothers are so great, then let's see how popular they are at the Long family banquet in a few days. Tao Tao was stumped. She couldn't exactly make promises for her brothers. Seeing her hesitate, the old man smirked. Suddenly, Long Chen Yi shouted, I'll go to the banquet. Lots of fun things happen there. I like going. Tao Tao's eyes lit up like light bulbs. Then Long Chengfeng chimed in. I'll go too. This was almost too good to be true. Tao Tao winked cheekily at the old man and said with a sweet smile, We'll look forward to seeing you there, teacher. Furious, he kicked her out of the classroom. Hearing that, she leaped off the desk. Finally, I don't have to listen to this boring lecture anymore. She hummed a little tune and swaggered out, not forgetting to give him a polite wave. Well, I'm off then. Bye-bye. At that, Long Chen Yi shot to his feet. I'm going with her, he announced. Anyone who wants to can stay in this stupid class. He walked over to Tao Tao, decided she was walking too slow, and just scooped her up and strode out. The old man coughed. Well, now that there are no more distractions, let's continue. Before he could finish, Chung Feng tossed his book aside. Since my brother and sister are gone, there's no reason for me to stay. The old man was so angry he was speechless. He could only pin his hopes on Long Chen Yan, who hadn't said a word. You better not be like them! That night, Tao Tao excitedly asked her third brother, Will there be lots of other kids to play with at the banquet? Long Chenyi thought for a moment. Isn't it just one person eating a lot of good food? Tao Tao instantly understood. Wow, you clearly have no friends. She turned to Chung Feng, a bad feeling creeping over her. Sure enough, he said coldly. Everyone stays 3 feet away from me. It's much more convenient. Tao Tao was speechless. These two clueless brothers don't even realize they're being ostracized. No wonder the old man was so smug. She knew she had to come up with a plan to help her brothers fit in at the party. Early in the morning, Tao Tao woke up with a headache, stressing about the bet she'd made for the banquet. She racked her brain but came up with nothing, and she had no idea who to ask for help. Her villain dad was practically a missing person. Time to get up, young miss, Kelly's sweet voice called out. Tao Tao quickly greeted her. Kelly immediately noticed she had something on her mind. An idea sparked in Tao Tao's head. She batted her big eyes. Kelly, how do you get the other kids at a party to like you? Kelly thought for a moment. Well, I think everyone likes kids who are polite and gentlemanly. The light bulb went on for Tao Tao. She excitedly gave Kelly a big kiss on the cheek, which completely melted the maid's heart. After getting ready, Tao Tao went to find her brothers, who were having breakfast. Her enthusiastic greeting made Long Chen Yi spill his milk all over his face. My dear sister, are you trying to kill me? Brothers, she announced, we are going to be the stars of the banquet. Training starts now. The two brothers were completely dumbfounded. The training began. Long Chen Yi cooperated obediently, and Tao Tao tried her best to learn alongside him, though her little arms and legs were shaking. Long Chung Feng, on the other hand, was slacking off. He looked down on these phony social games. Tao Tao, fed up, shot him a death glare, urging him to practice. But he just shrugged. Taking matters into her own hands, she grabbed his. Second brother, I'm taking you to a secret training session. A moment later, they were in the kitchen. I'll help you make your desserts look extra beautiful, she said. Maybe that will get people to like you. Chung Feng's expression darkened. He thought she was looking down on him too and rejected her offer, saying he'd handle the banquet his own way. On the day of the party, Long Chen-yek made his entrance first. His polite, gentlemanly greetings shocked all the other kids. Cao Tao followed right behind him in a misty blue princess dress, secretly pleased with how well the training had worked. But then, Yi spun around too fast, got dizzy, and accidentally stepped on her dress. The two of them crashed into each other and fell in a heap. Their special entrance made everyone back away. It's those weirdo siblings, let's stay away from them. Vincent smirked. Idiots. Are you being polite, old man? Cao Tao shot back. Just then, a commotion broke out in the ballroom. Someone yelled, Stop, thief! Hearing this, Long Chen-yi shot off like a rocket, his long legs a blur. The thief felt an overwhelming sense of pressure. Before he knew it, Yi had him pinned to the ground. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Cao Tao looked proudly at Vincent. See? My brother is amazing. Being good at school isn't the only thing that matters. But Vincent was unimpressed. He snorted and looked toward Long Chung-feng. My judgment is never wrong. A weirdo is a weirdo. Look, is that what you call being popular? Seeing him being pointed at and whispered about, Cao Tao's heart ached. She decided to be the first one to stand up for him. She stormed forward, grabbed one of the little pastries, and shoved it into her mouth with a big om nom. She half expected to either die on the spot or be stuck on the toilet for 3 days straight. But the flavor was unbelievably good. Cao Tao yelled for her third brother to try one too. Long Chen-yi, skeptical, reached out and took a bite. His eyes immediately lit up like stars. He declared his second brother a genius little chef. With his siblings hyping him up, Long Chung-feng was as happy as a kid in a candy store. But his joy lasted less than a second before that old coot Vincent jumped in to mock them. How ridiculous! The three of you, entertaining yourselves. Look around. Does anyone else want to talk to you? His words made Cao Tao so angry she could feel smoke coming out of her ears. Just as she was about to fire back, a little girl interrupted. Can I try one, please? Long Chung-feng's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe someone besides his own brother and sister would actually want to eat something he made. As everyone stared in disbelief, the girl ate the pastry and showered it with praise. This is amazing, and the design is so unique. With a few brave souls leading the way, the other kids swarmed over, all wanting to try the magical desserts. In the blink of an eye, Long Chung-feng was the most popular kid at the party. Cao Tao was ecstatic. She turned to Vincent, who was standing nearby. Want to try a piece? Vincent's face turned beet red. I would never, he shouted. Who knows what you put in there? For everyone's safety, no one should eat these. He reached out to snatch the plate away. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Panicked, Cao Tao bit down hard on Vincent's hand. In the ensuing scuffle, the pastries crashed to the floor and the plate were smashed to bits. Long Chung-feng completely lost it. Seeing him about to go berserk, Cao Tao and Long Chen-yi rushed forward and hugged him, begging him to calm down. The other kids joined in, and Long Chung-feng slowly regained his composure. Seeing as you all want to try them so badly, he said, next time I'll let you sample my newly developed black chili pepper macarons. Okay. Her second brother was back to normal. Cao Tao finally breathed a sigh of relief, then turned to glare at Vincent. You're just a sore loser. You can't stand seeing my brothers being popular. Vincent was so furious he started shouting. One of them just runs, the other makes weird things, and you're a little fool. The three of you are banned from my class. A fool? A familiar voice cut in. Long Chen-li appeared from the crowd, his expression grim as he fired back. A teacher like you isn't fit to teach my children. Vincent just sneered. Is that any way to talk to your teacher? Long Chen-li didn't even give him the time of day. He simply announced he was firing him. Vincent ground his teeth. Long Chen-li, you don't have the authority to fire me. And what if I insist? Just as the two were locked in a standoff, the head of the Long family, Long Chen-li's father, Long Chen-hong-yue, made a grand entrance with Cao Tao's eldest brother, Long Chen-ye, in tow. I'd like to see who dares to make Vincent leave, the old man boomed. The old man's voice carried an invisible weight that made the 2 pounds of baby fat on Cao Tao's cheeks tremble. Vincent, seeing his savior, rushed over and complained pitifully. The young master wants to fire me. The old man's eyes narrowed as he demanded an explanation from his son. Long Chen-li was unafraid. I won't allow anyone to bully my children, he said, then shot a quick signal to his kids. The children immediately understood the assignment. Cao Tao's lip trembled as she started the performance. Wah! I'm so scared. Mr. Vincent was so mean. He called Tao Tao a fool. Not to be outdone, Long Chen Yi mimicked his sister's sad whines. Mr. Vincent called me a jock, a good-for-nothing who will never amount to anything. Long Chung Feng, meanwhile, transformed into a master of passive aggression. With a look of hurt and magnanimity, he said, Mr. Vincent was probably just in a bad mood. It was an accident that he knocked over my desserts. I don't blame him. The crowd, seeing this, turned their accusing stares on Vincent. Tao Tao, the little schemer, took the opportunity to drag the old man into it. You must be my grandpa, right? Mr. Vincent uses your name to push us around and bosses our daddy around. If we didn't know any better, we'd think he was the head of the Long family. Vincent panicked and tried to defend himself. Sir, I was just trying to help you teach them a lesson. The old man's expression soured. Help me? He roared. You want to walk all over your master? Without another word, Long Chenya signaled for the bodyguards to come forward and throw Vincent out of the banquet hall. Tao Tao was so intimidated by her grandfather's powerful presence that her diaper nearly couldn't handle the stress. The old man slowly walked over to Long Chen Li and whispered a threat. You'd better behave. You don't want this daughter to disappear like that woman did, do you? The words hit Long Chen Li like a bolt of lightning. What do you mean by that? He asked, his voice trembling. But the old man didn't answer. He simply told Long Chen Li to stay and learn about company management, then turned and strode away. Long Chenya, ever the polite son, bid his father a respectful farewell. Long Chen Li just gave him a simple In contrast, Long Chen Yi was thrilled to see his big brother after so long and eagerly rushed over to show off his new little sister. Long Chenya smiled and knelt down, greeting Tao Tao gently. The boy's warm smile almost made Tao Tao forget he was supposed to be a major villain too. She couldn't help but wonder to herself, I remember the oldest brother wasn't supposed to come home until he was 18. Did the plot move up? Whatever the case, her second brother had finally been accepted by everyone. Tao Tao could finally get a good night's sleep. Late that night, the bedroom door creaked open. Long Chenya slipped into Tao Tao's room like a ghost. He reached out and stroked her soft cheek, a hint of sadness in his eyes as he muttered to himself, Little sister, oh little sister, why did you have to come back? Grandpa always said father was bewitched by that woman, that he even wanted to run away with her. And now her daughter is here to mess with his heart. At that thought, Long Chenya reached a trembling hand toward Tao Tao. Just then, a deep voice came from behind him. Yeah, what are you doing? Long Chenya whipped his head around, to see Long Chen Li standing in the doorway, his face cold. Without missing a beat, Ye put a finger to his lips in a shush gesture, calmly pulled the blanket over Tao Tao, and then tiptoed out of the room, closing the door behind him. The weather's getting colder. I came to check on my sister and pull up her blanket. But Long Chen Li didn't buy that nonsense for a second. What did the old man send you back here to do? He demanded harshly. Long Chenya lied with a straight face. Grandfather values our new sister and asked me to come back to guide her. Long Chen Li knew instantly that the old man was planning something against Tao Tao. Not necessary, he said flatly. I don't trust anyone. Long Chenya boldly talked back. You don't trust anyone or you don't trust me? Just as the tension between father and son reached a breaking point, Tao Tao pushed the door open, rubbing her sleepy eyes. The scene in front of her made her jaw drop. Daddy, big brother, why are you both outside my room? Do you need something? The fierce Long Chen Li instantly transformed into a gentle giant. It's so windy tonight. I'm too scared to sleep alone. Can Tao Tao keep Daddy company? Tao Tao's jaw dropped even further. Yeah, right. A grown man scared of the wind. But before she could say a word, Long Chen Li's handsome face loomed closer, and she quickly swallowed her retort. Seeing that she didn't object, Long Chen Li took it as a yes. He scooped her up and strode toward his own room. Once there, Tao Tao said in her sweet little voice, Don't be scared, Daddy. If you still can't sleep, Tao Tao can sing you a lullaby. Long Chen Li hesitated for a fraction of a second, before lying down on the bed, looking a little awkward. Tao Tao tilted her head, thinking, which song should I sing? A moment later, her sweet voice filled the room. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, snore, snore, time for sleepy. Long Chen Li listened, a strange feeling creeping over him. Good grief. Her singing was so off-key it was in another country. But it wasn't unpleasant to listen to. The only thing was, the voice got quieter and quieter until, just like in her song, Tao Tao was fast asleep, snoring softly. Looking at the little ball of fluff sleeping soundly in his arms, Long Chen Li couldn't resist reaching out and pinching her cheek. Her face really looks just like her mother's, he murmured. A flood of happy memories washed over him, but when he thought about how she'd left without a word, his mind filled with questions. What happened back then that made her leave me? And under what circumstances did she give birth to my child? As he was lost in thought, Tao Tao's hand flew up and slapped him right across the face, snapping him out of it. Long Chen Li sighed helplessly, carefully tucked her in, and began to gently pat her back, humming a lullaby he had never sung before. Cao Cao must have sensed something, because she snuggled deeper into his arms and curled into a ball. For the first time, a strange, wonderful feeling washed over Long Chen Li. This, he thought, must be what it feels like to be a father. Lately, Cao Cao had been thinking her big brother was a little strange. Like right now, he always managed to show up exactly when she needed him, effortlessly appearing elegant. No, wait, accidentally revealing his goofy side. Cao Cao shouted nervously, "Big brother, you're bleeding!" But Long Chenya just smiled and said it was nothing. As time went on, Cao Cao got used to her big brother always looking out for her. If she tripped, she would instinctively yell, "Big brother, save me." And Long Chenya would be there in a flash to catch her, gently reminding her to be careful when she walked. Cao Cao couldn't help but be touched. Having such a sweet big brother was the best thing ever. Long Chenya smiled and took her hand, leading her to the dining room. In the dining room, just as Long Chenya was about to lift Cao Cao into her chair, Long Chen-li beat him to it, even tying her napkin for her. "Cao Cao, will you sleep with Daddy again tonight?" Although Cao Cao was confused, she still agreed. Just then, Long Chen-yi swaggered into the dining room, shouting excitedly, "Dad, my math score went up by 20 points, and I got a gold medal in shot put." Long Cheng-feng also sauntered in to show off. "Dad, I accidentally got first place in my grade." Yi added that it was all thanks to Cao Cao's scribbles, which had apparently marked all the key points for him. Cao Cao felt a little wronged. She had chosen those points very carefully. The three siblings were getting along well, and Long Chenya looked on with envy. Suddenly, Yi suggested they all go to the family's lakeside villa for a vacation as a reward. Cheng-feng couldn't resist spilling the beans. "I seem to remember someone falling into the lake while trying to catch a fish and almost becoming fish food." Not to be outdone, Yi shot back, "Well, at least I didn't roast marshmallows that were so bad they took out a whole room of maids." As the two of them bickered, Cao Cao got even more excited about going to the lake to see the stars. Long Chen-li couldn't bear to refuse, but he had one condition: Long Chen-ye had to stay behind. The three younger kids froze. Why? Long Chen-ye was stunned too. Cao Cao quickly hugged her dad's arm and pleaded Long Chen-ye's case. Long Chen-yi copied her, grabbing his other arm and chiming in. Long Cheng-feng added his own 2 cents. "I wanted Big Brother to try some of my new creations." Under the kids' relentless persuasion, Long Chen-li finally gave in. "Fine, we'll all go." The three siblings hugged him happily. "Hey, cute dad!" After breakfast, everyone went to pack. Long Chen-li took the chance to warn Long Chen-ye, "Don't let me catch you doing anything suspicious." Long Chen-ye just smiled, hiding his nervousness. "You're overthinking it, Dad." Unexpectedly, Long Chen-li put a bandage on his injured forehead. The gesture warmed Long Chen-ye's heart, and he choked up, "Dad!" But Long Chen-li just threw back a cold reply. "Didn't the old man ever teach you to take care of your injuries?" Only then did Long Chen-ye realize his father had been quietly looking out for him all along. Watching his dad's retreating back, he couldn't help but think, "Grandpa was right. Dad really has changed a lot because of my little sister." The next morning, Cao Cao scrambled out of bed, full of excitement for their vacation. She bounced over to find her maid, Kelly, to get changed into a pretty dress. But she ended up running headfirst into a wall of muscle. Looking up, she saw Long Chen-li smiling down at her. "Someone's excited," he said. Cao Cao clenched her little fists and nodded vigorously. Super excited. She couldn't help but remember how, in her past life, she had always been jealous of other families going on trips together. Now that she had a family of her own, her eyes started to well up. Seeing this, Long Chen-li reached out and gently tapped her little nose. "What's with that face all of a sudden?" Cao Cao composed herself and changed the subject. "I was just wondering what hairstyle I should ask Kelly to do for me." Long Chen-li looked at her seriously. "Dad will do it for you today." Cao Cao shuddered. The last time he did her hair, the tree branch style had scarred her for life. But before she could protest, he had already confidently placed her in front of the vanity, earnestly flipping through a styling book, before grabbing her hair and getting to work. Cao Cao's heart leaped into her throat. Is this really a good idea, she wondered? 10 minutes later, Long Chen-li let out a long sigh of relief. Cao Cao's eyes widened. She couldn't believe the cute French braid she was looking at was actually the work of her villain dad. Seeing her surprise, he got nervous. "Does it not look good?" Cao Cao immediately threw herself into his arms. "Looks amazing! Cao Cao loves it!" Long Chen-li smiled and patted her head. "It was nothing." Just then, Long Chen-yi poked his head in, intending to call Cao Cao, but he immediately got jealous when he saw his dad had beaten him to it. "I wanted to braid her hair." Long Chen-li teased him smugly. "That's what you get for sleeping in." Cao Cao looked at the father and son fighting over her hair, and felt completely speechless. At that moment, her two other brothers came in to hurry them along. An hour later, the family arrived at their lakeside villa. Seeing how happy Tao Tao was, Long Chen Li was happy too. Soon Long Chen Yi had caught a huge fish and was excitedly showing it off to his brothers when his foot slipped. He was just about to fall into the lake and become fish food when Long Chen Ye swiftly grabbed his collar and pulled him back. Long Chen Yi was so scared he started to tear up, but Long Chung Feng just rolled his eyes. "Are you trying to fall in every single time?" After making sure his little brother was okay, Long Chen Ye went to find Tao Tao to carry out the task his grandfather had given him. Meanwhile, Kelly brought Tao Tao a basket of pastries made by Long Chung Feng. Long Chen Ye arrived just in time. "It's been a while since I've had any of Feng's desserts." Tao Tao opened the basket, and sure enough, the pastries were as colorful as ever. She picked out a piece of bread, but the next second, her eyes went wide with shock. That was a caterpillar wiggling. Tao Tao calmed down and realized the caterpillar bread was just bread. Long Chung Feng proudly showed off his creation, wiggling candy that could move on its own. Tao Tao's face flushed with anger and she stomped her foot. "Second brother, you're mean." Chung Feng quickly apologized and brought out his special strawberry monster cake. Tao Tao's eyes lit up, and she eagerly took a bite. Just as things were getting sweet, a hand reached out from the shadows. Suddenly, a swarm of bees came buzzing toward Tao Tao. Her three brothers watched in horror, as Tao Tao shrieked and ran for her life. Long Chen Ye didn't hesitate to step in front of her, shielding her with his body. At the same time, Long Chen Li swooped in and pulled her into his arms, yelling, "Butler!" The butler appeared in a flash, and with lightning speed took care of the bees. Although Tao Tao was safe, she was still scared and sobbing in her father's arms. Long Chen Li comforted her gently. "It's okay, Daddy's here." Then he shot a harsh glare at Long Chen Ye. "Don't you ever do that again." Long Chen Ye stepped back, hurt. "Dad still doesn't accept me," he thought sadly. As night fell, everyone returned to the villa. Tao Tao was planning on washing up and then tucking her villain dad into bed when Kelly rushed in. "Young miss, young Master Ye has asked you to meet him by the lake. He said it's urgent." Though she was confused, Tao Tao agreed. When she got to the lake, it was quiet, and her big brother was nowhere to be seen. As she looked around curiously, her foot suddenly slipped, and she fell toward the water. In the nick of time, Long Chen Ye reached out and grabbed her, pulling her back from the edge. "Tao Tao, are you okay?" Tao Tao was touched. "Thank you for saving me, big brother. I'm fine." Long Chen Ye signaled for Kelly to leave, and she bowed respectfully. Before she left, she reminded Tao Tao to be careful, but there was a strange tone in her voice that made Tao Tao suspicious. She had a gut feeling that all the accidents might have something to do with her big brother. Seeing Tao Tao lost in thought, Long Chen Ye tapped her nose. "What are you thinking about?" Tao Tao shook her head nervously. "No, nothing." Long Chen Ye seemed to read her mind. "Are you wondering why I'm always there whenever you're in trouble? Are you starting to not trust me?" he asked with a smile. Tao Tao's heart skipped a beat. She remembered that in the novel, Long Chen Ye used his gentle nature to set traps for his opponents, making them fall into his grasp without them even realizing it. But the big brother in front of her now looked so lonely. He had been raised by their grandfather, and his own father was wary of him. He probably just wanted to be chosen, to be trusted. Thinking of this, Tao Tao blurted out, "I trust you, big brother." Long Chen Ye was both surprised and happy. "Why?" Tao Tao took his hand. "Because you always protect me." A wave of warmth washed over Long Chen Ye. However, just when things seemed to be going well, someone pushed Tao Tao from behind, and she plunged straight into the lake. And to Tao Tao's horror, the person who pushed her was none other than the maid she liked and trusted the most, Kelly. Tao Tao thrashed in the water, screaming for help. Without a second thought, Long Chen Ye dove in after her. He swam toward her with all his might, and even though he couldn't swim himself, he kept reassuring her, "Don't be scared." But just then, a cramp shot through his leg, and his body went limp. The two of them began to sink. At that critical moment, Long Chen Li arrived, leaped into the water, and quickly pulled both kids out. Since he hadn't been under for long, Long Chen Ye came to quickly, but Tao Tao was still unconscious. Frantic, Long Chen Li kept calling her name, but she didn't respond. He whipped his head around to face Long Chen Ye. "Yeah, how could you?" Long Chen Ye was filled with guilt and apologized for not looking after his sister. In response, he got a harsh scolding wrapped in deep affection. "You know you can't swim, so why did you jump in? What if something happened to you too?" Long Chen Ye's heart warmed. Dad was worried about me. With the situation so dire, Long Chen Li didn't have time for more. He quickly ordered Long Chen Yi to call a doctor. After the doctor's best efforts, Tao Tao was finally out of danger and slowly woke up. The first thing she saw was Long Chen Li's handsome but worried face leaning over her. Are you hurt anywhere? He asked urgently. Tao Tao smiled sweetly. I'm fine, Daddy. Don't worry. She accidentally touched his soaking wet clothes and realized how scared he must have been. Then she remembered the big brother who had risked his life to save her. Where's Big Brother? Why isn't he here? Long Chenli instantly became jealous. You just woke up and you're already asking about that kid? Did he threaten you? Tao Tao quickly shook her head. No, Big Brother saved me. Please don't punish him, Daddy. A sly grin appeared on Long Chenli's face. I saved you too. How come you're not worried about me? He said sourly. Before he could finish, Tao Tao cleverly threw herself into his arms and showered him with affection. Daddy's the best. Daddy's the handsomest. Long Chenli couldn't handle it, and his face instantly turned red. Tao Tao took the opportunity to ask where her big brother was. It turned out all three of her brothers had been so worried about her that they were hiding by the door, peeking in. They only dared to speak up when they saw she was safe. Tao Tao was relieved that her big brother hadn't been kicked out. Long Chenye thanked Tao Tao for sticking up for him, and also thanked his father. But Long Chenli just turned his head away stubbornly, and told the butler to make them some ginger cola to warm them up. Long Chenye looked at his sharp-tongued but soft-hearted father, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. And Tao Tao, seeing that her big brother and father's relationship had softened a bit, smiled in relief. Suddenly, Long Chenli's expression grew serious. Tao Tao, did you see who pushed you? Just as Tao Tao was about to name the culprit, Kelly burst through the door, feigning concern. Young miss, I'm so glad you're okay. If anything had happened to you, I don't know how I would have lived. Tao Tao was completely dumbfounded, having no idea what kind of act she was putting on. Tao Tao pointed at Kelly, identifying her as the one who pushed her into the lake. Kelly immediately burst into tears, crying, I've been working for the Long family since I was a child, and I was just recently assigned to take care of the young miss. I would never harm her. Tao Tao scoffed internally. With acting skills like that, the Oscars owe her an award. Seeing things weren't going her way, Kelly suddenly turned on Long Chenye, who inexplicably became the scapegoat. Young miss, you have to believe me, Kelly said, reaching out to touch Tao Tao. Tao Tao recoiled in fear. Seeing this, Long Chenli decisively slapped Kelly's hand away, his eyes filled with disgust and anger. The old man is getting more foolish in his old age, trying to use a maid to stir up trouble. Long Chenli's trust in Long Chenye was unwavering, and he left him to handle the situation. Feeling trusted by his father for a rare moment, Long Chenye puffed out his chest and assured him he could handle it. He grabbed Kelly's wrist. Kelly, how did you get a bee sting on your hand? Then he calmly pulled out the bib Tao Tao had worn earlier from his pocket. This has a special pollen on it, the kind the bees that were chasing Tao Tao today love. You must have gotten the pollen on your hands when you put the bib on my sister, which is why you got stung, right? Kelly's face instantly went pale, a flicker of panic in her eyes as she quickly tried to defend herself. That was just an accident. Don't accuse me without any proof. Long Chung Feng's expression darkened. Yi, turn off the lights, he said coldly. You got it. Long Chen Yi immediately complied. The room was plunged into darkness. However, a faint glow emanated from the four siblings. Long Chen Li stared at the glowing Tao Tao, his eyes wide with surprise. Tao Tao explained in a low voice, I wanted to see fireflies, but there weren't any at the manor, so... Her voice trailed off in embarrassment. Long Chung Feng quickly picked up where she left off. So I sprinkled some fluorescent powder in the air for her to play with, like they were fireflies. With that, Long Chenye grabbed Kelly's hand again, and told Tao Tao to turn around. When she did, a clear handprint was visible on her back. Long Chenye held Kelly's hand up to compare it to the print. Knowing she could no longer pretend, Kelly's face twisted into a snarl. She suddenly pulled out a dagger and lunged at Long Chenye. This is what happens to those who betray the master. Long Chenye nimbly dodged the fatal blow. He was done being a puppet. He was through with living in the dark. Long Chenli couldn't just stand by and watch his child get hurt. In an instant, he was at Kelly's side. With a swift kick, he sent her flying 3 meters away. Seeing this, Tao Tao couldn't help but praise him. Daddy, you're so cool. Then the butler and men in black came in and restrained Kelly. Pinned to the ground, she was still defiant, spitting out a threat through gritted teeth. Don't get too cocky. You can't beat the master. Long Chenli's brows furrowed, his eyes filled with determination. Go back and tell the old man if he dares to touch a single hair on my children's heads again, I will not spare him. And while you're at it, tell him I'm not coming back. Tao Tao had finally managed to become the cherished pet of the villain family, but in doing so, she had become a thorn in her grandfather's side. Long Chenye asked Long Chenli nervously, Dad, can I not go back to Grandpa's? Long Chenli didn't answer directly. Instead, He knelt and looked at the cut on his son's forehead with concern. This sudden show of affection flustered Long Chen-ye. The cut is fine. Dad, didn't you always dislike and distrust me? A small smile played on Long Chen-li's lips. I've always trusted you, he said softly. Cao Cao was confused. Then why didn't you want Big Brother to come to the villa, Daddy? Long Chen-li was afraid that Long Chen-ye would do things against his will just to please the old man. He had originally thought that letting him stay by the old man's side would ensure he would become the next head of the Long family, but he hadn't realized how much pressure it would put on such a young child. Long Chen-ye was so mature it was heartbreaking, and he even thought it was his duty. Hearing this, Cao Cao reached out and tapped her big brother on the head. Who says the oldest has to suffer? She said in a cute but fierce voice. Whether it's the third, the second, or the fourth, no one should have to suffer. The brothers all agreed, but Long Chen-li got inexplicably jealous because Cao Cao hadn't mentioned him. Cao Cao sighed and tapped him on the head too. Daddy's a big dummy for not just saying what you mean and letting Big Brother misunderstand. Long Chen-li pinched her cheek affectionately. You're getting bold, little one. Cao Cao had already figured out her villain dad's temperament, so she just made a face at him. Suddenly, Long Chen-li's expression hardened. Why were you all sneaking out to play so late at night without telling me? Long Chen-yi quickly grabbed his hand, pleading, Dad, it was so late, we knew you wouldn't let us go if we told you. Long Chen-li's heart softened, but he still pretended to be stern. Stop that, he mumbled. Seeing her chance, Cao Cao leaned in and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Daddy can't be mad anymore. Long Chen-li was overjoyed but tried to play it cool, clearing his throat. I was just worried about you. Next time you go out, take me with you. Taking advantage of his softened stance, Cao Cao suggested they go see the fireflies again. So, Long Chen-li took his little cubs to the lake, and they didn't return to the villa until all 4 of them were sleepy. He had intended to put Cao Cao to bed and then send the other 3 to their own rooms, but when he turned around, they were already snoring. He had no choice but to tuck them all into Cao Cao's bed. Just then, a small hand grabbed his sleeve. Long Chen-li looked down to see Long Chen-ye mumbling in his sleep. Daddy, don't leave me. Looking at his children's sleeping faces, Long Chen-li made a silent vow. From now on, Daddy will always be with you. Once he was sure the kids were sound asleep, Long Chen-li closed his eyes and joined them in a sweet dream. In another villa, the old patriarch of the Long family angrily swept the chessboard off the table. They dare to defy me. Since they won't play by my rules, it's time for a new game. Since coming to this world, Cao Cao had finally found a home and a family that was all her own. She was growing to love this villain family more and more, because it held a warmth she had never known in her past life. So she decided she would stay here forever. She knew her grandfather wouldn't give up easily. On her 7th birthday, Cao Cao's wish was still the same, to protect her family and keep them from becoming cannon fodder in the story. Happy birthday, Cao Cao. The gifts from her 3 brothers were piled up in a small mountain. Just as she had sweetly thanked them, her villain dad walked over with a red velvet gift box. Cao Cao was both excited and curious. But Long Chen-yi just scoffed. Dad is so cheap. The gift he got for sister is so small. A death glare from Long Chen-li quickly shut him up. When the box was opened, a star-shaped necklace lay inside, the tiny diamonds glittering like stardust in the light. I love stars, Cao Cao exclaimed. Long Chen-li immediately put the necklace on her. I'm glad you like it. Cao Cao looked down at the necklace, loving it more and more. She couldn't help but give Long Chen-li a kiss on the cheek. Thank you, Daddy. Seeing this, her brothers clamored for kisses too. Cao Cao puckered her lips and blew 3 kisses into the air. Thank you, big brother, second brother, third brother. In the midst of the celebration, the butler rushed in. Sir, the master has sent an invitation. He says there is an important family matter, and you must bring the young masters and the young miss. Long Chen-li frowned slightly. What is the old man up to now? The butler lowered his voice. I hear the master is planning a marriage alliance with the Murong family. Cao Cao's heart sank. Is Grandpa trying to find us a stepmother? The 3 brothers immediately erupted, all of them against the idea. Long Chen-li assured his kids that there would be no stepmother. On the day of the banquet, Cao Cao wore a beautiful princess dress. Long Chen-yi suggested that if their grandfather announced a marriage, they should cause a scene to scare off the Murong family. To his surprise, everyone agreed. As soon as they entered the banquet hall, they saw their grandfather beckoning to their father. Come, meet Mr. and Mrs. Murong. Long Chen-li looked over and saw a young woman standing next to the Murong couple, smiling and nodding at him. His expression immediately darkened. Father, I suggest you don't get any ideas. I won't let you have your way. But the old man just snorted. You? I'm not interested in you. Before Long Chen-li could react, the old man called for everyone's attention and announced to the crowd, The Long family and the Murong family have decided on a marriage alliance. Miss Murong Wangking will choose one of my 3 grandsons to be her fiancé. The 3 brothers were stunned. They never thought they'd be the ones in the middle of the drama. Cao Tao's heart clenched. She knew who Murong Wangking was, the heroine of the original book. It was because of her that the 3 brothers turned against each other, spiraled into darkness, and met their tragic ends. Cao Tao's eyes were glued to Murong Wangking in the crowd, remembering that this banquet was the starting point of all the tragedies. In the book, Murong Wangking would fall for Si Kongjin at first sight tonight, and her 3 brothers would also fall for Murong Wangking. From then on, her brothers would pursue her relentlessly, and when they couldn't have her, their entire family would meet a tragic end. The eldest brother would resort to kidnapping and eventually die of depression. The second brother would try to poison the hero and end up drinking the poison himself. And the third brother would become reckless and end up in jail. I can't let the story play out like that. As Cao Tao frantically tried to recall the details, a commotion broke out in the crowd. A waiter accidentally bumped into Murong Wangking, and at that critical moment, a young man rushed out from the crowd to save her. Murong Wangking fell for him instantly. This young man was none other than the original hero, Si Kongjin. Cao Tao watched with growing dread, knowing what would happen next. Her brothers would go to check on the heroine, and her strength and kindness would captivate them, setting the wheels of their tragic fate in motion. Cao Tao knew she was in deep trouble because her 3 brothers were already itching to go over. She quickly turned around to stop them. "Don't go!" Long Chenyi looked confused. "Why not?" Thinking fast, Cao Tao collapsed onto the floor. "Ouch, I twisted my ankle, it hurts so much." Long Chenye immediately knelt to check on her. Long Chenyi, on the other hand, panicked and shouted, "I'll go get a doctor!" However, Yi's loud voice attracted Murong Wangking's attention as well. Cao Tao wanted to die. She was so close to changing their fate, she couldn't give up now. So she threw herself at Murong Wangking, batting her big eyes and begging her to go with her to see a doctor. The heroine was written to be beautiful and kind, so she naturally agreed to Cao Tao's simple request. Long Chenye started to say something, but Cao Tao cut him off. "It hurts so much, Miss Murong, let's go quickly." Then she quickly pushed Murong Wangking toward the exit, thinking, as long as I keep them apart, there's no first meeting and no love at first sight. But her strange behavior didn't go unnoticed by Si Kongjin. He was suspicious. Twisting her ankle on a flat floor? It didn't look like she was hurt at all. What is she up to? Cao Tao faked an injury to prevent Murong Wangking and her brothers from meeting, successfully cutting off the tragic storyline. But she had no idea that Murong Wangking had seen through her clumsy acting long ago. "Cao Tao, your ankle isn't actually hurt, is it?" Cao Tao was so embarrassed she could have dug a hole in the floor. I wouldn't lie to you." Murong Wangking couldn't help but pinch Cao Tao's little cheek. "I saw it clearly. When you fell, your ankle didn't even touch the ground." Cao Tao was at a loss for words. Murong Wangking found her reaction amusing, and seeing her blushing face softened her tone. "It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. When you're ready, you can tell me first." Cao Tao stared at her, suddenly thinking that this heroine was actually kind of cute. After thanking her, she urged her to go back to the banquet. But Murong Wangking shook her head, her gaze falling on the flower beds. "It's too noisy in there. It's nice to get some fresh air." Cao Tao was surprised. The Murong Wangking in the book loved lively parties and was always trying to climb the social ladder, but the girl in front of her was content to squat down and admire the flowers. She even picked a small pink one. "Look, isn't this one pretty?" Cao Tao nodded eagerly. "Yes, it's as pretty as you are." Just then, the sound of rushed footsteps shattered the quiet moment. Si Kongjin stormed over, glaring at Cao Tao. "Let Miss Murong go," he demanded, then turned to Murong Wangking. "Did she force you to come out here?" Murong Wangking frowned and shook her head. "You've misunderstood. I came out here willingly." Si Kongjin didn't believe her. "She faked being hurt just to trick you into coming out here, didn't she? That's a lie." "I didn't!" Cao Tao shot to her feet. "I just didn't want my brothers to meet Miss Murong." Si Kongjin raised an eyebrow. "Why? Afraid she'd steal your spotlight?" "No, I was afraid that, just like in the novel..." Cao Tao clamped her hand over her mouth. "Oops, that was close." Murong Wangking stepped in to smooth things over. "Mr. Sikong, please calm down. Cao Tao isn't a bad person." But Sikong Jin was relentless. "The Long family is nothing but a bunch of schemers." "Ah, Jin, don't you think it's a bit much to bully a little kid?" A cool, teasing voice came from above. Everyone looked up to see Sikong Fei sitting in a tree, a sly grin on his face. "If father finds out you're acting like this, he'll make you copy the family rules again." Sikong Jin panicked. "Brother, what are you doing here?" Sikong Fei leaped down from the tree and sauntered over to him. "Watching the show, of course." It's not every day I get to see my little brother this worked up. Before he could finish, Tao Tao felt an invisible pressure. She looked up to see Sikong Fei's face close to hers, his smiling eyes full of curiosity. So, you're the Long family's little girl?